Have you ever undergone serious anxiety and fear for listening to English? Do you feel discouraged as you cannot hear anything in every listening lecture? Do not worry, it is a constant struggle for most language learners. So, what can we do to tackle this issue? Taking note is one of the most common methods recommended by the majority of lecturers. It can be defined as the practice of jotting down pieces of information systematically in a certain order to record and recollect. Once you get an organized note, you can follow the lecture sequence, develop a deeper understanding, or better recall data in the long run, as it helps you maintain a permanent document of what you have listened to. Thus, it will be of practical use when accomplishing exercise or revising for examinations. Nonetheless, the question is, how can students take note effectively? This video will indicate some note-taking strategies, which are broken down into steps to implement before, during, and after each listening exercise. The major justification encouraging us to make this video is that audience can get a comprehensive overview of note-taking process, as well as take some beneficial tips for their own learning progress after watching our product.
Before taking notes in lecture, what should we do? I will give you some following useful advice. Firstly, you had better show up to class with the right tools, paper or computer. Between those two, there's been a debate going on for years, but we do some recent scientific evidence. According to a study by Princeton University in 2014, students who took notes on a 15-minute lecture using a laptop wrote an average of 310 words, while students who took note on paper wrote an average of 133. So it appears that typing your note definitely gives students a speed advantage. Therefore, computer note-taking are advisable for learners. Secondly, you better check the syllabus of the course regularly so that you could have a general understanding about the next lesson. In addition, I highly recommend you review previous lecture notes to relearn material that may relate to the upcoming lecture, and then don't forget to complete all assigned readings before each lecture, since it's able to provide a framework for how lecture concepts relate to each other and what concepts are important to note. On top of that, after doing rereading, you should download all the lecture slides which are available before class, as well as search for more material related to the topics. Furthermore, the more time you can leave distracting devices such as tablets or smartphones, the more concentrated you will be in the lecture. Lastly, you're advised to arrive on time and sit near the front, as you can hear clearly and take good notes.
That's what you should do to get ready before the audio starts. Now we will move to some tips during listening. The first tip is understanding the lecture structure. Why do you need to take notice of it? And how can you guess the structure of the lecture? The answer is that it helps you to somewhat guess the development of the lecture and some possible arguments. Therefore, you can easily follow the lecture and logically create your notes. Secondly, title can usually be seen as the key factor to predict the structure and get an overview of the lecture. Let's take a look at this example. The title is Climate Change and its impacts on early warning system. Thanks to this title, you know that the lecture stands high chance to follow the cause and effect structure. So now it's time for the second tip, which is paying attention to these cause makers or signposting. Within the lecture context, signposts are certain words signaling you the end of the lecture, the importance of the information or clarification. For example, when lecturer said, "At the heart of this problem is," or in particular, "we will see," you may know that the following sentences are important and that you need to take down. I am sure that this way helps you to keep up with the important information and sometimes skip the unnecessary ones. Additionally, remember to note the keywords in the lecture. When listening to a lecture, you don't need to write every single word you hear. The best note takers focus on writing the keywords or important words. For understanding the idea, these are nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs, which convey most of the meaning in the sentence. And last but not least, when taking notes, you should use abbreviations and symbols instead of writing the original words. There are some standard abbreviations that can be used when taking notes in any lecture. For example, you can write DEF instead of definition, UNI for university, or W dot for width, and so on. Besides, you can use some symbols as well, like percentage, and more than, and so on. This method will help you to write out the main ideas as quickly as you can and maximize the amount of time you spend listening.
The most crucial things while taking notes is to choose your own style. We would recommend you 2 types of note-taking style, which we suppose the most efficient and convenient ones when you listen to a lecture. The first method here is outlining. Initially, I would like to give you some background knowledge about this one. Outlining is a way you organize the ideas based on their function. To be more specific, at the beginning of the outline, you should note down the topic of that lecture, and next is the very first main idea with a signal before it. After that, you write the supporting idea 1 with another signal, and remember to indent compared to the main idea. And this kind of ideas is supported by several supporting details or evidences, which you should put in the lines below. The same things go with the second supporting idea. After finishing the main idea 1, start to move to the second one with similar steps. I suggest that you should put the idea having the same function in the similar position and with the corresponding sort of symbol as well. The outlining method is a simple one to try and avoid writing the whole paragraph. If presented correctly as required, your note will be very coherent, clear, and easy to follow. The ideas are arranged in a scientific way with strict and coherent content. On the other hand, this way of note-taking requires a high level of concentration. It will be difficult to make if the lectures or the speech is too fast. Next, we will talk about the second method, mapping. Mapping is a common method in which a note-taker will write the title or main point in the center of the page. Then, related points are written around the main idea and connected with the lines, arrows, and numbers. Finally, smaller detail can be added under the points. In short, mapping can be considered as a graphic representation of the lecture content. I think you may want to get to know why this method can be of some help to you for taking notes. Firstly, this format enables you to easily check your lecture. It is obvious that relationship, hierarchies, and also connection of all ideas and information are already represented on your notes. Also, it provides a great overview of a topic because main idea is clearly in the center. Moreover, mapping encourages you to actively process information instead of just simply noting it down. In other words, it offers you a good opportunity to not only gain concise information, but also stay focused to catch needed one. Thirdly, it is also easy to edit your notes by adding numbers, marks, and color coding. Besides, there are some minor drawbacks you need to ponder when applying this method, namely text limitation and time consuming, but from my viewpoint, it's not a big obstacle when you are familiar with it. Let me give you an example of mapping style. So, a simple mapping can be like this, or lively and complex if you want.
Now let's discuss the strategies that you need after you have listened to the lecture. To get the most out of your notes, it is important to review and re-engage actively with them several times. So let me start by showing you the way that we can take advantage of notes to review in the next times. Reviewing helps you to remember what was said, builds up your understanding, and helps identify gaps in your knowledge. I'm sure that you have tried not to make mistakes while you are listening, but if you have, you still have some time to check. During this time, you should check that you have followed the instructions, used good grammar, and spelled correctly. What you should do is to read through your notes, make sure they are clear and legible. Besides, it is advisable that you should clean them up, fix spelling errors, expand on abbreviations, tidy up handwriting if necessary. Next, you are also recommended to fill in missing words or information and add anything extra that you may have thought of since the lecture. Additionally, you ought to code your notes by using color and symbols to mark structure and emphasis, highlight major sections, main points, and diagrams. Use different colors to emphasize main points, classify different topics, and link concepts or information. That's all I have to say about reviewing. To continue with, I'd like to look at some tips for re-engaging with notes. First of all, you are advised to try chunking similar pieces of information into categories that you can remember more easily. Besides, it's generally a good idea to write a brief overall summary of the notes in order to keep in mind the main points of the lecture as well as to recall the key information mentioned earlier. Next, shortly after taking your lecture notes or making textbook notes, you are advised to go back and edit, but not to copy your notes by adding extra points, spelling out unclear items. And the thing is, we often forget rapidly, but it's time for this vital step, just as you do for the class itself. Last but not least, you should review your notes periodically. There are 3 types of review, namely daily, weekly, and a major review just before an exam. This is the only way to achieve lasting memory.
On in all, note-taking is a critical college success skill. As one of the most widespread saying has claimed, practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the more proficient you will become. If you select a method and use it regularly, you can significantly improve your techniques, along with make noticeable progress in studying. With good note-taking techniques, you will soon be able to record even every single word to your satisfaction and have a great study tool to use when preparing for your assignments or exams. We hope our tips we have presented today will be of some help to you. Thank you for watching.